like to welcome everybody to the Madison County Board of Commissioners special call meeting for December 12th at 6 p.m. Can everybody hear me okay, or do I need to use the microphone? Microphone, all right. I'll borrow it. This meeting is being recorded and is also being streamed live for the ones that's unable to attend tonight. First off, I want to introduce Mr. Matt Coutu, who's here tonight to give us a brief presentation and to do a question and answer from the Board of Commissioners. And at that time, when those questions has been fulfilled, we'll give the public an opportunity to ask questions based off of the amount of people in the room tonight. Please hold your questions to under 3 minutes. Please do not repeat the same question twice if you can. Please be respectful on both sides, pro or con. With that being said, Mr. Coutu with Woodland Asset Management.
Good evening. Thank you all for attending this meeting tonight. I know this means a lot for you and your county, and we're just here to answer questions, go through our presentation, hopefully keep it pretty casual, give you a feel and flavor of what we intend to develop on the 590 acres that we have currently in Madison County. And I appreciate the commissioners coming as well. I know you probably have a lot to do on Tuesday nights outside of being in the courtroom here with us. There's been a lot of questions surrounding the development that we brought forward, which is a golf course with a residential component tied to it. I've brought my business partners, Nick and Dimitri Cassini. They can help answer some of these questions. So both Nick and I are going to present tonight, and then after our presentation, we're glad to answer every question we can answer, and if we can't answer it, we'll try and get you an answer by the next couple of days. So anyway, I'm going to let Nick kind of kick this thing off and give you a little rundown of what we're proposing.
Thank you, Matt. Good evening. Again, we appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the Rose and our vision for Madison County. So let's start with the name. The Rose, it's named after the state flower, Cherokee Rose. And internally, we were initially going to call it the Cherokee Rose Club, but internally we kept on calling it the Rose, and so it kind of stuck. It's easier to say. We liked it, so we went with the Rose and developed a nice logo around it. It incorporates the 5-petal flower, the golf flag, and then the Cherokee feathers at the bottom of it. So a little bit, just an introduction on the Rose Golf Club. The Rose Golf Club is going to be a private club, obviously here in Madison County, and our goal is to create one of the premier golf courses in the state of Georgia and the Southeast, and complemented by a beautiful residential community as well. We have a lot of great people involved so far in this project, and with the intention to make it one of the crown jewels of the state. And definitely look forward to integrating into the community and working with other fine folks in Madison County to accomplish all this. A little about the team. So my brother, Dimitri, and myself, we've been in business together since 2006. We've worked in the real estate industry, mostly on large-scale residential developments. A lot of them incorporate golf and hospitality. We've worked on over 100 developments throughout our career, all over the world, all the way from Europe to the Caribbean, East Coast, West Coast, United States, Mexico, and a lot here in Georgia. We're both University of Georgia graduates. I was lucky enough to play golf at the University of Georgia and win a national championship there, 3 SEC championships, and so golf is near and dear to my heart. I'm very heavily involved with the University of Georgia golf team and the university. My brother is as well. He's a very good golfer. And so, we're excited to bring, to give a little bit back to a game that's given a lot to us, certainly throughout the years. Matt, I'm going to let you talk about yourself. Sorry.
So I'm the partner that handles the dirt work. I'm the development guy that gets down and dirty on the site work, clearing, grading, infrastructure, water, sewer, storm. I work with the municipalities on getting the permits, work with both state, local municipalities, the soils and water conservation. And my background is, grew up in Gwinnett County. I started on my first development when I was 15, working for a developer, that is, and I would show up before high school to water the trees. And that's how I got to know real estate development, was just being around it. Went to school at Georgia Southern, got a degree in construction management. Always knew that I was going to be in the development world. Came straight out of school working for a GC on a land station. Knew that that was not the type of project I wanted to be on. Did not like driving into downtown Atlanta every morning. And so I took my focus back to residential development. And currently, as of 2014, I started doing commercial development, so triple net lease, national tenant, small retail deals. Like, for instance, I got a project in Grayson currently that we have a Chipotle, a Starbucks, a Panda Express, urgent care, part of a master development residential deal. And I just keep coming back to the residential side because that's been my passion for so many years, is quality residential developments. And I've worked on them throughout Cobb County, Forsyth County, up towards Athens along the 316 corridor. And we're just drawn to this piece because we see it as potential for a beautiful golf course. And then after that is a great opportunity for some high quality residential.
Let's see, some other members of our team are South Haven Builders. They're a group out of Roswell.
We're talking to them mainly as being a custom home builder within the community, but
Really, our target right now is the clubhouse.
they've got a feel for architecture and design, more so than a lot of builders we've dealt with.
And they are just offering a package that,
They come in and be turnkey and really turn our clubhouse into a true experience. They have in-house design, in-house architects, in-house interior design. So it's a great opportunity for us to partner with them. We've worked on a couple different deals within the Metro Atlanta
area with South Haven Builders.
Then we've also tapped B+C Studios, Joel Bowman, for our land planning and architecture design. Joel's had a company out of Marietta for, I want to say, 15, 20 years, and he's worked on master plan communities, and he's done architecture on golf course communities. He actually worked on Reynolds Plantation, on the landscape architecture surrounding the Linger Longer Steakhouse and the Ritz down at Lake Laconia. And then also engineering, we engaged Carter Engineering to handle our initial surveying of the property. We've also talked to them about initial land plan. So we're looking to go with a local engineer for the full design, planning stages of this project and take us through permitting and platting, everything associated with the civil design. Do you want to speak a little on the founders?
So some other partners that we're gonna have on this deal, on the club side, and, this is somewhat typical when it comes to private golf clubs, in the history of private clubs in the country. You have a group of founding members that are the initial members that put the deal together and capitalize it. And so, we've put together a group of 16 founding members, that all have a real passion and love for this area, and for the game of golf, and want to look at this as an opportunity to leave a great legacy behind. It's a collection of individuals that are business leaders, philanthropists, and icons of the state. And so some of the highlights we just wanted to share with you all about who these folks are. One of our founders is currently one of the owners of one of the premier golf private clubs in the country, here in the South, called State Valley Golf Club. 3 of our founders are professional golfers and have a combined 20 PGA Tour wins and 2 major championships. Two of our founders are in the University of Georgia Circle of Honor. Two of our founders are on the University of Georgia Board of Trustees. 6 of our founders are former University of Georgia athletes. One of our founders is on the Georgia Board of Regents. And I can say that we're all very vested in making sure that the Rose is, one of the premier clubs, not just in the state, but in the Southeast United States. And honestly, behind Augusta National, we aspire to be the best club in the United States. And so, to share a little bit about some of the projects that we have worked on in the past. We've worked on a lot, but some of the most relevant ones that maybe you've heard of, Ford Plantation, it's now called Ford Field and River Club down in Savannah. It's a project that we've been heavily involved in. It's a master plan community with championship golf. The Preserve, it's a small residential community that we developed in Roswell. Summit Sky Ranch is an example of a project we did in Colorado. And Frederica Golf Club down in St. Simons Island. We were involved early on with the planning and with the island company back in the island on Frederica. And so those are just an example of some of the communities that might be relevant to Rose. So let me give you a little bit more information on the golf course. Sorry. So our vision for the golf course, first of all, the land itself is incredibly suited for a golf course. There's a few components that we hired a golf architect to come in to do a lot of due diligence for us, to answer questions that we might have about soils and topography and tree coverage and all sorts of different aspects of what it takes to build a great golf course. And the response back was that it's an incredible site for golf course. So that was extremely positive for us. We have an opportunity on this site because of the natural topography where we don't have to move a lot of dirt, which from a pure standpoint on a golf course, that's great. The less amount of dirt that you have to move, the more natural it looks. And from a golf perspective, it's a beautiful architecture. And so our plan is to keep a great border of trees around the course and make it core golf, meaning where there's no residential on the course, just golf and clubhouse. And so our goal is to be basically invisible to like you won't see the golf course from anywhere aside unless you're driving into the golf course and actually parking on the course. And that goes for the neighborhood as well. We don't want to see houses from the golf course, and we don't want the houses to be able to see the golf course. So we want them to be very secluded, and we want that because that's an appealing thing for golf course and for golf architecture. We've got 3 nationally acclaimed golf architects that are in the mix looking at the site, and all 3 have expressed a lot of desire to be the architects because they can see the potential that this site has and the location to be to be one of the most renowned golf courses in the country. And because of the people we have involved, we want this to be a golf course that can certainly host championships if we want, but more than anything, we want it to be a fun golf course that the members enjoy playing. And with the eyeballs and the golf pedigree that we have with the founders, we have the opportunity to do that. Here's some visuals of the golf style. So for the golfers in the room, the architecture that we intend to accomplish is called an American length, meaning that it's not tree-lined parkland courses. A lot of the courses in the state of Georgia are mostly tree-lined, where every hole sort of has a border of trees, and then you go up the next hole that has a border of trees. We want to create something that's more open. It's called American lengths, where there's not a lot of trees. We keep the specimen trees, and they're treated as jewelry, basically, and beautiful visuals. But it's not going to be a course that has the typical parkland bunkering, great, native grasses, and great contouring that will essentially, frame the course. So you can see these are some of the, sorry, mouse is a little slow. Okay, so you can see, sort of the visuals of how the moundings and the natural contouring, the bunkering, the native grasses. So that's very much the aesthetic that we would go for on the architecture of the golf course, and that's what we would want it to look like. And then that's just showing, some of the, like a halfway house comfort station that we would have. It would probably reflect something like that. Matt, do you want to take it over from the design?
Sure. All right, I'm going to speak a little on the design relative to the clubhouse and amenities to accompany the golf course. The clubhouse the intent is to have what they call a modern traditional architectural style. A lot of expansive windows, brick, use of stone, natural materials. We'll have, within the clubhouse, we'll have private dining facility, library lounge, so that members can come and work from the clubhouse, and then hopefully have a tea time or entertain guests. There'll be a men's and women's locker room, poolside bar, comfort stations, as Nick mentioned. The clubhouse is intended to be properly sized for the amount of members, but also it's going to have a residential feel, so it's going to look like it belongs on the property. We're not looking for anything that's grandiose or over the top that takes attention away from the golf course, honestly, because that's really what we want people to experience is the course. Let's see, and then the landscaping will utilize native materials, and like I said, we've got B+C Studios that is going to be focused on just making sure that we nail it on the landscaping so that when you come onto the property, you feel like it was always intended to be a golf course. And so we've got some imagery that we've put together relative to the design of the clubhouse. As you can see, there'll be a swimming pool, the glass that I spoke about, brick and stone mixture, fireplaces utilizing the ability to take advantage of the great weather that we have in the area. This could be an example of the dining and lounge areas. Locker rooms, we'll have both men and women locker rooms. I'll let you catch up there. All right, I'm clicking. All right, dining experience. We want it to be, as much as we can, open air. I know there's certain times of the year that, August applies. We don't want to have the doors open in August, obviously, but certain times of the year, September, October, is just a great opportunity to enjoy both inside, outside dining. And just another view of lounge area. The pool experience, the beauty of this property is we're bordered, the golf course and the clubhouse is bordered by a stream, so we've got a natural buffer from our neighbors. And then also the property sets back off Sanford Road, so it's going to have the feel that you're just in a rural area and out amongst the trees and not have the hustle and bustle of Atlanta and Metro Atlanta and Athens. You're just going to be able to come here and relax is the intent. And then I'm going to speak a little bit on the real estate and the residential component associated with the project. So as I've said in my previous meetings, and a lot of you have attended those, the residential component is going to be governed by a mandatory homeowners association and a management company. So everything, and this speaks a little bit on that, but I'll just go off the script a little and just say that the homes are going to be architecturally controlled, meaning that if somebody decides, hey, we're going to build a home, we have to submit those plans to the governing homeowners association and the management company for approval. The homes are going to be a mixture of stone, rock, hardy plank siding, a mixture of them, or they just may go, it could be all brick homes. It just depends on, the flavor of what that individual wants. But there's going to be a theme, and you'll see some of the architecture that we have in here. There will be a common theme throughout the development, and the architect governing that theme will control what the individuals can build. And then as for the landscaping will also go before the architectural control and the homeowner association, just to make certain that the theme of the landscaping ties into the course, ties into the entranceway, ties into the common areas. And the intent is for native material, which helps with irrigation, helps give a feel that, that we didn't just develop a project. It makes it feel like that this property was always intended to be a golf course and community. So I'm going to scroll through a couple of the pictures. So here's a pencil draft of some of what we envision on the actual larger lots in the community in the top left. Bottom right's a rendering. A couple more houses that would be on the individual lot section. And then closer to the golf course and the clubhouse, let's see, would be what we call golf flats and golf cottages, just so that members can have something that they can lock and leave. The homeowners association would manage the exterior lawn maintenance and the exterior upkeep of the buildings. And then also just to have something nestled in close to the clubhouse, so you're walking distance from the clubhouse. Maybe overlooking the driving range, so you can go to the driving range and then come back to your golf cottage. But the big idea is to have something that's lock and leave. A lot of our clientele and a lot of our members have just expressed the need to be able to come play the course, have somewhere to stay the evening, and then be able to lock it the next day if they're heading out. Sorry, I don't want to flip 15 pages at a time here. And then I wanted to speak a little bit on the benefits to Madison County that we've listed out. And so benefits to Madison County are going to, obviously, job creation. We're looking for, golf course superintendents. We're looking for hospitality industry folks to help with this vision as well. It's going to take great members of the community and employees to really deliver the experience that we're looking for. Internship creation, whether it be from the high school level through the college level, proximity to universities is huge when it comes to a development like this. You've got to bring in young talent that you can train up to be your future, head of hospitality or your future superintendent of golf course maintenance. Chamber of Commerce events. I know we've mentioned it a couple times in meetings that, we see an opportunity for the annual Chamber Golf Tournament to be held out here. Let's see, obviously, support of local businesses, and then the tourism aspect of the fact that not only are members going to be coming to visit this golf course, but they're going to be bringing guests to Madison County. They're going to see what Madison County has to offer and the area has to offer. So we see that as a great opportunity. The tax revenue to the county, I know there was some concern over, is this going to be a burden on Madison County? And we do not see that at all. And I think the tax commissioners here may be willing to answer a couple questions. But the idea that we're making improvements to the property that's sitting dormant currently is going to raise the tax base of that property. And we don't really see any kind of burden on the infrastructure that you currently have in Madison County. Then obviously having a premier golf club within Madison County is going to be a benefit. So I hope that this answers some of your questions. I understand that it probably hasn't answered all of your questions, and some of you may have shown up with a list of 15 that you want to ask us, and that's okay. We're willing to answer a couple of those. Maybe all of them, but really what we wanted to do is go through the presentation, keep it a little bit casual, and then, allow the commissioners to ask questions, and then anybody in the audience also ask questions. Oh, I'm sorry, I've got one more page, I've got the site plan. So this site plan's evolved. This is the third rendition of the site plan that's been shown at the initial meetings. And so we just evolved it a little bit more each time as we perfected. So anyhow, Mr. Higdon, do you wanna?
Yeah, on that site plan.
Yes, sir.
This is the newer version I haven't seen yet. How many homes are you showing on B and C there?
So on B, we're showing, that would be the, residential lots. B, we're showing 168 lots currently. Now, remember, we still have to go through the process of testing all the soils per each individual lot. And 168 is what we're showing if we had the most perfect soils in the world. And we all know, everybody here probably has septic tank and leach field, and you know that you're not always going to have perfect soils. But what we want to do is come forward with a plan to say, if we did have perfect soils, this is what we would be able to get. On C and D, we don't have the exact count on there, but that C would be where the golf cottages would fall due to proximity to the clubhouse, and D would be the golf flats and or a combination of flats and cottages due to proximity to the clubhouse.
Is that the last slide? We'll turn the lights back on?
That's the last slide, yes, sir.
Thank you. Matt, I guess we'll start off with the questions from the Board of Commissioners first.
Okay, that's fine.
And we can start right to left if you would like.
Matt, how many cottages and condos? The number of cottages and condos?
Yes, sir, we're honing that in right now. This is our third rendition of the actual site plan, and we're hoping to lock that in for our stipulation letter prior to Tuesday night. So that's still being honed in, honestly.
So you should have that information before Tuesday, hopefully.
Yes, and we have a stip letter that we're preparing right now. We have a draft that we're gonna send out prior to our meeting on Tuesday.
Any other questions, sir? Mr. Chairman? Mr. Matt?
Right now, our high school team, golf team, travels to, Victoria Bryant State Park for their practices.
Yes, sir.
Would they have any access to this? for
We can
practice?
explore that idea. I mean, what we're looking to do is promote the game of golf, and, you know, if that obviously involves the golf team in Madison County, so it's certainly something we want to explore.
Mr. Kirk?
Just one, I guess, I guess most of these homes would be individually owned, is that?
Yes, sir, they're gonna be, the intent is for all the lots in B to be fee simple. Then on the section D and C, some of those will be owned by the club itself, and then others will be individually owned within there.
Okay, and so the ones that are individually owned, would the covenants also allow them to lease those out, the owners? Or to do them as like, it's common now, maybe sometimes, to do like in the Verbo or
Right.
whatever.
I understand. So, we will have mandates on the ability to lease within the homeowners association. And with that comes a limitation on the amount and percentage, and we can put that within our stip letter.
Any other questions, sir? Mr. Dahl?
I'm just still kind of absorbing it, so I'm sure I'll have some of it moving along.
All right, thank you. Most of the people in the room know me, so know that I don't have a lot of questions.
All right?
Narrowed most of them down. The restaurant lounge, during off-season or off times in the evenings when nobody's playing golf, is that restaurant lounge going to be open to the public?
It's actually not gonna be open to the public because the intent of this project and the business plan is a private club. But that's not to say that we can't schedule like chamber events and, you know, we want to be part of the community. We're not looking to just say, hey, we're a private club and we're going to lock a gate and nobody's ever going to see what we have going on. So we do think that there's a great opportunity with the chamber to have certain dinners or events that the people of Madison County that aren't members of the club can come experience.
The reason I ask that is because we do have, besides just a chamber, there's a lot more events. Our Cattlemen's Association get together every year for a big event. I want to see if that's something that is workable, you know, as long as the timing works.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I can't say that we can host every event, but we will have the ability to host some events, so we can talk further about that and explore the idea. And I throw out the chamber because that's the one I know about, and, you know, I think it could be a great opportunity to have the Cattlemen's Association come, and I just can't lock in every night that we have an event that.
I understand. Now, you spoke about the jobs. Do you have an idea roughly the number of jobs?
Absolutely.
Potential create?
Yeah, it's 30 to 60 full-time positions to run a course and hospitality facility like we're showing with the amenities we're showing. So, you know, just starting off, it's going to be somewhere in the 15 to 20, and then as the course grows in, then we're going to be hiring on more. As the member count rises, we'll be hiring more on the hospitality side. So it's a great opportunity for full-time employment, but also internships. We really want to foster the internship because that's how we grow our future workforce within the project and within the club.
All right, so the third, thank you. The third one is, home cost. What do you think the value of these homes is gonna be and what square footage?
Well, I think everybody's seen what home prices have done as of the past couple of years, and just construction prices alone. I mean, even the cheapest product within this development is gonna have to start at $500,000 to deliver the level of architectural design that we're committing to. And then, I don't wanna say what the top number would be, but, you know, $500,000 on the starting level for just a golf flat, and then going well over $1 million.
Thank you, sir. The next one, I was a little shocked about the part that you're wanting to build this course being second only to Augusta's course.
That's a bold statement, isn't it?
That's a bold statement.
I understand.
So, when you say that, I'm assuming that you're probably gonna try to get some kind of tour, some TV time, tour time, this is gonna be that nice.
Well, I think I can let Nick speak to this, but we have had multiple golf architects on the property. We sought this property for the golf course. I mean, we're sitting in a bowl that creates the perfect opportunity to, the residential drainage goes right to our irrigation ponds. We have the stream as a natural buffer. The soils are primo for a golf course development. And so having multiple golf architects on the site, they're not just trying to sell us and say, hey, this is a great piece of property and this is perfect for what you're trying to do, because if they go design it and it's a bust because it doesn't have the right soils and the irrigation doesn't work out the way it needs to, then that's going to be a blemish on their record. So they truly, when they saw the property, they were honest in the fact that you guys found a gem here for a golf course. And some of the founders that we've already have signed up, they know what it takes to have an unbelievable golf course, and they said that there's no reason that we can't make this one of the top golf courses all in the state of Georgia.
And the last one, before we take on other questions, or the board may have some more at this point. Based off the 165 lot size and seeing the topo of the land, and I would be speculating based off the soil contents, that it'd be a fair statement to say that 30 to 40, probably 30 of those lots may not perk, which you would entail, I'm assuming, would make larger lots.
Right.
This is based off of strictly 3/4 of an acre, is that?
That's right. This is the bare minimum per the zoning relative to individually septic lots that are on municipal water. And so I tasked the person handling the site plan with, hey, here's the bare minimum. Let's present that, because I'd rather come in here with more and deliver less on something relative to a site plan than have something where I'm trying to sell you on, hey, we're gonna have all 6-acre lots and I've got a demand for some smaller lots. So the big thing is the people purchasing these lots, they're not purchasing them to have a ton of maintenance. So they're not looking for huge lots, but they are looking for natural setting, and they're looking for lots big enough that they have a little bit of privacy, but at the same time, I didn't want to just come in here and guarantee that we have huge estate lots that we're selling.
Thank you.
I don't know if I answered your question.
You did,
Okay.
you did. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that that is the maximum amount of lots, but it can only go down from there.
Right, on section B, we've got to go through all the rules and regulations that everybody in this room's gone through with their homes. Is, you know, you have all the proper testing that then goes to the health department and is approved by the state, and, so we know that that's a step.
I just thought of two more.
Okay.
One, you know, this board, after P and Z, they have an opportunity to put conditions on it.
Right.
With approval. And if it comes to the Board of Commissioners with approval, they also have opportunity to put conditions on it.
Right.
I heard you state before, and just for the record again, now that everybody's in the room, that, the golf course is the focus. We're building a golf course. The homes we're not building homes to pay for a golf course. I just want a clear understanding.
Right, so if you look at the way.
Can or cannot go without the homes.
Absolutely. So if you look at the way that we have the layout on the golf course, it's designed for a golf experience. It's not designed to promote residential values. If you look at other golf courses in the state, I'm not saying all of them, but there's several others that are designed to where you have, like, for instance, our greens to tees are walkable. A lot of them you'll see from the green to the tee box a great distance so that they can cram houses in between the two. And it's focused on generating residential values. Here, we've designed the course to be a true golfer's course that's walkable. And then we are gonna generate value for a residential community through the fact that we're gonna have an unbelievable golf course. And so we would be short-sighted if we didn't realize that. And we're purchasing close to a 600-acre piece of property, and you don't need 600 acres for an 18-hole golf course. So we know that this course is going to create value for our future residential, and we have members telling us, hey, when we come to Madison County, we'd like our own home to stay in while we're there experiencing the golf course that we're a member at.
I promise this is the last one, but I'm going to go back to our notes for the meeting for the public. This rezone is to go from A1 on 591 acres to an A2/R3 to allow the golf course clubhouse to be constructed and operate on the property for residential development. Now, on the A2/R3, do you all happen to have an idea on the exact acreage you're going to need for the A2 rezone /R versus R3?
Yes, we actually put, I don't want to say the word exact, we put plus or minus, and it's in the bottom left corner, and it depicts what we anticipate the acreage split to be between the A1 and the R3. Now, the reason we put the plus or minus, we understand, as we get further in the zoning process, and we hopefully get to the point that we can get the buy-in from the commissioners and get an approval, we'll have to lock that line in and for zoning purposes. So at that time, we can make that exact lock with a surveyor. You know, it's going to take a surveyor to lay that line and then provide the legal meets and bounds of that property.
That's all the questions I have at this time. Does the board have any more questions before we give Mr. Patu and the public an opportunity to ask questions? Gentlemen.
What zoning requirement is required for the cottages and the flats, because they're not single-family residential, and it doesn't fit in our, or in AR?
So what we have is, and maybe we didn't say it right, it was, Ag 1 and R3 zoning is the split zoning. Ag 2, I'm sorry. It's Ag 1 currently going to Ag 2 and R3 split zoning.
So the R3 is the multifamily?
Right. And when we say multifamily, we're not talking apartments.
Well, you just showed the picture, I had an apartment, it was a fancy apartment, but it was a park.
No, that would just be a for rent building. We're gonna offer them up for sale.
That's an apartment, right?
Apartment would be just strictly for rent.
The definition of an apartment.
Right.
I got you.
Right, we're not looking to have rental units that we collect checks on a monthly basis across, 100+ units. That's not the intent.
It would resemble something like townhouses then?
Yes, sir. I can scroll back to the image if you'd like.
That's what,
You want me to scroll back to it?
no,
Okay.
I've seen that, but I think that's what, we're splitting hairs here, what it looks like an apartment, or a townhouse, or a quadruplex, or a duplex, whatever we want to call it. That's the effect you're looking for, is something resembling a townhouse.
Well, the effect we're honestly looking for is a resident that can easily be locked, and our members are able to come visit and say 2 days out of the week, come stay at their, golf flat.
On bungalow.
Right.
Any other questions, Jim?
What was the thought process of you putting the maintenance shed with the residential area?
Well, the maintenance shed is a place to store golf carts and the maintenance equipment. The intent is to put it close enough to the clubhouse and the course so they can service the course. So we do have a gas line easement, and so it just fell on this side of it. It's nothing other than we need it to be close, but we also want to have plenty of room for the amenities to lay out. So the intent is that the cart barn maintenance area is to be landscaped and screened, so it's not seen by the residents or by the clubhouse.
This is getting into the weeds a little bit, but looking at this, would it be safe to make the assumption that this would be a golf cart community too? Because you don't have enough parking areas.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I can see us having 2 garages and a golf cart garage. Absolutely, is the
For internal traffic.
right. Now, the course is designed to be walkable, and it'll have very little golf cart traffic. And right now, the intent is to minimize the actual golf cart paths on the course, because we want it to have more of the natural feel. But when you have a clubhouse and you have a community around your clubhouse, a lot of times people want to be able to take the golf cart straight to the community, but, there'll be rules and regulations if you're concerned about people on Sanford Road or Pelican Springs. I don't see any golf carts running on there. I would hope not. Right. Right.
Interrupt just for a second. I think Michael, Sheriff Moore is maybe trying to leave on us. I wanted to know, Michael, do you have any questions for Mr. Patu from a law enforcement standpoint?
I can do it before we play golf. I mean, one of the things is, what are you doing about emergency access to it? Like off and on the golf course, in the subdivision, water, for the fire department.
Right, we're, part of our review process and permitting processes, we will be getting with the fire marshal, and he's gonna have to sign off on emergency access. So we do have multiple entrances shown, and that's certainly part of the process going forward.
I know instances in the past, and not here, but other places talking, professional firemen and EMS, on the golf course itself, they have a hard time getting their vehicles around it or on it.
Right. Well, You know, we've also got maintenance vehicles and maintenance trucks that have to be able to access the golf course for certain reasons at certain times of the year. So there will be a lane capacity in certain areas that we need to be certain we allow for those vehicles to get in or around the course. So that's definitely be part of the golf course architect's design. But obviously, we don't want it to be a road going through the course. You know, there's other ways of doing it.
Sheriff Moore, you good? I just thought you were trying to head out, sir.
No,
I'm
I
catching you.
got three things going on at one time here.
Oh, that's what happens when you're sheriff, unfortunately. All right, if there's no other questions from the board at this time, we'll still be able to come back for a board.
Right, absolutely.
In case they think up a new, question. With that being said, we'll open the floor. Please raise your hand one at a time. Okay, good. Well, there's not many. All right, perfect. We'll start at the front and work our way to the back. Dr. John Barton. It probably, just so they can hear it over the microphone, sir.
So one of my interests is water, and obviously a golf course can be water intensive. They have CDF3 detention ponds. But where do you, in terms of water for the community, is it going to be tied to the, the IDA source, or is it going to be well water, or how's that going to do, and what type of water usage do you anticipate?
Absolutely, you have to have water for golf courses, and so that's the intent of the ponds, our irrigation ponds. We are planning to utilize well water on the irrigation ponds, but they are also located strategically so that they're on the low side of the property. And so one thing that brought us to this property is, like I said, it's a bowl, and a lot of the runoff comes to just certain areas on the property, and we're intending on catching a majority of that and reusing it. But we will be using wells. I know there's been questions on water usage for the houses, and goes from, depending on who you ask, 230 gallons per day to 300 gallons per day is the average usage. And then on the golf course, we talked with our golf course architects, and they said on the initial grow-in, we could get to as much as 750,000 gallons in order to water the course on the grow-in. Now, this is a very crucial part of the development. You know, you're starting with seed in some areas, sod in other areas, and it all depends on, what kind of rainfall you're getting, or if you're experiencing a drought. But the average usage is 500,000 gallons.
Over, per day?
Per day, yes.
Per day. Yes, next row back. Yes, if you don't mind, I knew Dr. John Barton's name, but if you don't mind, please state your name for the record.
Okay. Sally Stanfield Allen. I'm not in the development business, and I'm not in the commission or planning zoning business, but as a citizen who comes back right up on my back porch, I can see the property. And it just killed me when they came in and took a year and a half and took down all the trees. But my question is the financing. And what would happen, or what are the steps? What if some atrocity happens, your backers pull out of the project, and then they've already rezoned it for this, some sort of development, and then maybe another development comes along that's gonna be a real eyesore, not good neighbors. So is there a contingency? Is there a bond, or what is the plan if there's some sort of financial?
Okay, yes, ma'am, thank you for the question. So currently, the property is zoned A1, which is the highest intensity use ag. So we could go in there and say, maybe we want it to be a pig farm. And just like any kind of business enterprise, you could go under, right? So you could have a pig farmer who's, borrowed a lot of money in order to put together all the barns and all the fencing, and next thing they know, they go under. So, there's always that. I don't want to say that there's no chance that could ever happen, because we've all lived through 2008 to 2012. But what we're presenting is a rezone to go into a less intense zoning, put a golf course in, which falls under the ag category. And we've already assembled, this isn't a speculative golf course, we've already assembled the team of backers that are known in the state of Georgia and are known to be successful. And so we fully envision a very successful golf course that, I know not everybody loves to look at a golf course, but I can promise you, if you ever wanted to sell your property there's a lot of people that would love the view from their back porch of a golf course. And I'm not saying that you're one of those people, and I understand if you're not, but there is always a buyer for a nice, beautiful view of a creek and a golf course. And so, I can't tell you that there's no chance that it could ever go under, but I can tell you that there's other uses that could go on this property that could be ugly from day one and go under day two. So, anyway.
There's one thing from a county standpoint, if a piece of property is rezoned and it stays stagnant for 12 months, the rezone can revert. Am I correct, Christopher?
Yes, sir, board can initiate, commissioners can do this. Board commissioners can initiate.
That's right. So for some reason, the wheel falls off and it stays stagnant for 12 months, that rezone can revert just like it was before we initiated. It's just another added protection. Who was next on the next row? Thank you for your questions, a great question.
I'm Gerald Edwards, my property backs up to y'all's. I'm dead against this. I'm in Madison County State Rule, I run small California. But have y'all took into consideration the two major pipelines go through there? They took into consideration that whole bottom, this drain tile was put in the sixties, the drain swamp tile. Madison County not set up for infrastructure for water and sewer. Are y'all gonna put in the treatment plant, or you gonna run county water through there? Cause you go drilling 160 wells, what's that to your drain source? Y'all want to use 5,000 gallons a day to water your golf course. I'm dead against the road traffic is gonna pick up. I'm not in favor of it. Y'all need to take consider, because you're not even showing the pipelines on the map right there.
Yeah, there's a pipeline going across, you may not be able to see it with the light on, but right across the bottom it says utility easement, and then right through the middle, it says utility easement. It may be because the light's on where you were setting.
I mean, like I say, it backs up to my 105, and I'm dead against this. I don't want to.
Okay, I understand. Can't win everybody, we are showing the pipelines, and I have talked to the Transcontinental Pipeline. They have rules and regulations and an entire information packet on what goes into development on the pipeline.
How many footings is off of it? You gotta pay at least 100 foot on each side, right?
So there's a whole process that you go through. You can cross the pipeline. You can even intersect with property lines on the pipeline easement. But there is a process that you go through, and we're intending to go through the process. We've already reviewed the applications. This isn't my first development on the pipeline. I've developed on Colonial Pipeline. I've developed on Transcontinental Pipeline. We also have Plantation Pipeline easement, which has been acquired by, I think it's Southeast Energy. So we've talked with them as well, and we're aware of the pipelines, and we know it's something to contend with, just like any other development up and down that pipeline. It goes from Louisiana up to the Northeast. So there's a lot of developments between here and the Northeast that are on the pipeline.
Thank you. Next question. I'm coming to the back. I'm working front to back, brother. Thank you for your question.
My name is Donna Smith, and I'm a recently retired teacher here in the county. And it's kind of two questions, sorry, but I'm going to connect together. At the beginning, someone said something about the tax, the increase in taxes that the county would see as a result of this, from what the revenue properties were bringing in now versus the anticipated, I guess. Because I know there's no way to really know at the beginning, especially since there won't be any. But I read, and I apologize if this is incorrect information that I must have gotten, that these homes that would be built here would be not, would be vacation homes, so to speak. And there wouldn't be a lot of new homes being built as far as, and school kids that would be living in these houses. So, and I know that this is all connected together. I know it's all connected together, and I know it's not school board meeting. I understand that. But I also know that if you bring in 200 homes 100 homes or whatever. In a typical situation, you're gonna bring in school kids. That's gonna affect, and I know our school system right now, I know firsthand, is being really taxed with community development here in the county. And of course, tax money is gonna help schools, I understand that, and it's kind of a, a two-way deal here, but if y'all could just bring in some information about the taxes versus how this might affect the school system.
Great question.
Thank you for the question. So we're not saying that the homes may not sell to a family that may have children. We're saying our target audience is somebody that, individual that's golf oriented is the target audience, honestly. And a lot of who we're talking to is about being members of the club, and I'm speaking on the club here, are of the age of 40 plus. And I think the three of us probably have the youngest kids out of everybody we've talked to, honestly. And so I'm not going to say that there won't be families that move into the community, because it's equal housing opportunity where, it's going to be open first to members of the club. They're going to have first dib on purchasing lots that are allocated for sale. But then we could have a young family move in that have 2 kids. And, I think this is going to be a quality development with quality families that will be a great addition to the school system. I can't speak on the exact numbers of what's available in the school system, but I am confident that what we've put together here is a project that's going to be more oriented to like an empty nester that is still going to be paying the taxes and the school board taxes that come along with your property taxes in Madison County, and help bolster that budget that the school board's going to have.
Thank you. Ma'am, I'll try to answer part of that I know. Speaking with the school superintendent, Whole Sanford currently has a little over we got a Whole Sanford teacher right here, I'm sorry. A little over 500 kids, and it has been up to 700. So it's about 200 under the mark that it has been at. Not saying one way or the other that's good, bad, or indifferent, but that's the facts that I let know today. You stated earlier that these homes would start at 500,000 and potentially go up. Dr. Dorfman had a meeting at the school with us about 8 months ago and stated that it took $429,000 to educate us in property tax, the home value to educate one child in Madison County school system today. So if that's the case, then what you're saying, based on the home sales prices, it would be in probably our lesser 10% of actually making sense to make the dollar margin, if that sounds right, too. All right. Coming to the back, I'm working my way back here. Mr. Hollis?
That's Wayne Hollis, and I just got a question. On Sanford Road, that's where you've got the main entrance. And is the entrance also gonna be on Helican Springs Road, or is everything gonna go right after Sanford Road? Or is there an option that you might could make Helican Springs Road the main entrance, so that you're less traffic on that road, and you can go to Athens that way and not have to go to Hull. And also the roads inside the community, is the county gonna be responsible for those roads, or will it be a gated community on the housing, that money that you take in from that be paid for through that?
So on Sanford Road, we do have our initial entrance, and as the property develops, we have a secondary entrance, and we could potentially have maybe a third entrance, but we're showing a secondary entrance on Pelican Springs as the property develops. We have the residential lots laid out to the standard to Madison County public standards. And as a developer, you go in and you pay for the infrastructure to install those roads, and then you dedicate them through a process to the county for public roads. So the cost of the infrastructure to put those roads on the ground and create a lot subdivision would be on the developers, would be on us.
Thank you.
The upkeep also?
So once you dedicate them to the county, then your property taxes go towards the county. county's budget for upkeep, and then the county would then upkeep the roads going forward after you dedicate them, just like any other road that's public in the county.
So, Mr. Hollis, from the county standpoint on that, and I noticed Alan Latzinski's here, on most any subdivision or any development, once the builder puts in the streets and roads, then it's 12 months at, 24 months after the completion date, then the county can accept those roads if they're built to county standards, which we would oversee, and they would have to build to begin with. So, we don't automatically take them over, and if I heard you correct, Mr. Coutu, it's okay. You said that you may use, if it becomes a golf cart community, currently Madison County does not have a golf cart community on county roads. I think the state of Georgia changed to side-by-sides maybe, but golf carts are still not allowed, or slow-moving vehicles, maybe that'll be between the sheriff. But as of right now, if it becomes that, then I don't know that the county would accept them as golf cart type streets, because we don't have that ordinance in place currently.
And there's a whole approval process that we have to go through on design, and then approval through the county before we even get to that point. So, you know, that's one thing that I didn't think all the way through on the golf carts, is that make certain that if not, they're street legal golf carts, which depending on the speed limit, you can have street legal golf carts if they have the blinkers and all that.
That's correct. Mr. Hollis, does that answer your question, buddy? All right, moving on back. Yes, sir.
I'm Steve Arnold. I'm a landowner close by, but I'm also a volunteer fireman. I got a lot of questions, but I'll keep them sort of short tonight. I have one question for you. Where does the runoff water from this golf course go once it leaves your property? Do you know that?
Yes, the runoff will go through our detention facility / irrigation ponds, and then we are tied on to East Sandy Creek.
Okay. All right. I have a question for, fire protection. Your townhouses that you're gonna build, I noticed that picture, that 3-story, they're gonna be 3 stories, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And how many stories will your clubhouse be, roughly? I understand it's gonna be 1 floor, but the height of it.
You know, the intent right now is our clubhouse would at max be 2 stories, unless the architect deems a reason to go 3-story, but, depending on how many stories we go, we're completely prepared to meet fire code relative to the construction of the building.
Or will those condo houses or the clubhouses, will they be sprinkled?
So depending on the mass of the building and the regulation on when you have to hit sprinklers, we're not certain that we're gonna take them to the level that they're gonna need sprinklers at this time, but we will make certain that we go through the proper protocol and get the proper approvals, and if we have to go sprinkler, we can.
All right, this place is a little bit different probably from when you worked at before. All the fire protection in Madison County is volunteer. So you're looking at New Sanford being the fire protection for this facility, for this area. I don't know how many hydrants you'll have in that area. They're gonna be, volunteer fire department's responsible for flushing those out and servicing them every year. We're right now have a class 4 rating. That means nothing to you, but you have no idea. Our commissioner probably catching on. But we need to maintain that class 4 rating. So we have to figure out, and ISO will come in and tell us what our flow rate needs to be to protect this facility and what we need to do. If it's deemed that we need additional equipment, or we need additional stations, or something to maintain that class 4, are y'all willing to put something out there? Or, you know, is there something that you can do? Are y'all willing to, you know, maybe add a piece of equipment or something? And remember, you're on pay.
I appreciate you. I do know a little bit about the class ratings, and I understand that we've got certain protocol and regulations that we have to abide by on the infrastructure of the water and location of fire hydrants and separation between hydrants. And my understanding is that based on that, your class rating should not be impacted as long as we meet those regulations, is my understanding.
Thank you, sir, for the questions. I think that I would have to measure the streets, I don't have any idea, with your fire hydrants, it's probably gonna be about every 750 feet. So that may actually help the ISO rating, to have that many more hydrants in that vicinity, I'm not sure. Go ahead, young man, state your name.
Hi, David Brown, I live in the community. I just got a couple of questions, and one of them is, what kind and how much chemicals are you gonna need to maintain the golf course?
Do you wanna ask your next one and I'll answer all of them?
Okay, in the event, that these chemicals causes, a lot of, ground absorption and leaks into our water supply, because, majority of the people in the county uses groundwater, and we also use bored wells too. So if that water becomes contaminated, who's gonna be responsible for cleaning it up? If it can be cleaned up. So as far as I know, it takes about 50 different types of pesticides to maintain a golf course. And I believe it's like 4 or 5 times more concentrated than agricultural pesticides. And in the county, from what I understand, as a farmer, most people here don't use that type of pesticide that would control weeds and bugs and stuff like that. We'd rather go out there and pull weeds than, put all these chemicals on the ground, which will then, contaminate our well water. I got one more question for you too. And you did say that this community is private, so it doesn't really add anything to our community in terms of its privacy. We can't buy a home there, we can't play golf there. And the roads in that community, the county will have to take maintenance of it after about a year if it does conform to the county's design. So that would increase our taxes because we still have to maintain it. And can you guarantee that these homes that are going to be sold in that community, will it impact taxes increase in the community around it? That's it.
Okay.
So,
All right, I'll answer the last first the best I can. And so the golf course itself and the amenities associated with the golf course are the private portion. The homes are going to be available in lots, available through, custom home builders and all that, will be available for purchase to those in Madison County, but we are going to release them first to, as part of our private membership, they have first right to purchase a lot, and then we would open them up. And on the tax side, I think the tax commissioner maybe could speak a little bit to that. I don't want to overstep my bounds. I pay a lot of taxes, but I don't know a ton about them, so I don't want to say something wrong. As for the regulation on pesticides and fertilizers, so listen, we're here above board in an open conversation that's being recorded. We have certain protocols, state rules and regulations, federal rules and regulations that we have to abide by. Now, we could go out there without even having this meeting and farm this property and use some pesticides that probably would be frowned upon, but, we wouldn't be in this open forum and talking about what we're doing. Instead, we're coming before the county and saying, hey, listen, we want to do a golf course here. Everybody's going to know we're here, so we better operate it in a fashion that is above board. And golf courses that have great notoriety are known for being leaders in the industry on both pesticides and fertilizers and the maintenance of those and the use of those. So I don't see us doing anything that would jeopardize the golf course and the property, because not only would we be jeopardizing our own property, but like you said, could be jeopardizing others around us, and that is certainly not the intent. So I can say in front of everybody here that we are going to operate under the rules and regulations that are set forth on golf courses and through the use of the requirements for the pesticides and the fertilizers. And then I don't know on the...
Yeah, I'll have Robin Baker, would you speak on the tax portion to answer his question, sir?
Well, the residential development itself would be its own neighborhood, just like Brush Creek, Grass Landing, Tumbling Creek, any other subdivision in the county, which would, set its own values from the sales inside the subdivision. We wouldn't use a subdivision sale here to go out and value a rural house, a rural property, because it wouldn't be comparable to any home that was built in this subdivision, in this neighborhood.
So how about someone, as you would say, can't guarantee people will buy these homes and have children, how would that, increase our tax base for, the school tax on the surrounding community?
Well, if a home in the neighborhood, let's say they start at $500,000, that's gonna generate probably between $6,000 and $7,000 a year in tax, just on a $500,000 house.
So you're saying we're not gonna get a tax increase if there's 100 families with 2 kids?
If there are 100 counties, I can't speak to any increase because that's set by the millage rate. But if there are 100 families in that subdivision and the homes go anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million, $1 million is gonna generate about $12,000 a year in taxes.
Yeah, you're not answering my question. I said, will it increase our own tax base around the community, because this is school tax, not the millage tax, it's school tax.
Well, only thing I can speak of is the value. I can't speak on the taxes.
So that's something.
Let me try to help you. So I think Robin did answer it at the very beginning. What he said was, this subdivision, the values and the tax that they generate will not affect a home outside of it. If you had a 2,000 square foot home that's valued at $300,000, they're not gonna use the comps off of this community of 500 and up to value your home that it's not part of.
I'm not talking about my home, I'm talking about the school tax.
The school tax.
Right, and how many kids are gonna be going to that school from that community, and that will increase our school tax, because we still have to maintain having teachers. The facility may have to increase, there's no guarantee, how many people are gonna move in there with kids. He's not guaranteeing that, he's saying this is not something they foresee.
Yeah.
Just like he's not guaranteeing, well, he didn't say guarantee, but he said he's gonna go by rules and regulations by which they use chemicals on the property, but it doesn't mean that the chemicals are not harmful to us.
Correct.
Right?
So let me try to help you right there, quickly, because there's 2 or 3 topics you raised across. I'm gonna try to raise across the same thing. I think the fear of pesticides came about, and Mr. Chandler may know better, Mr. Chandler. There was a golf course blow up 5-10 years ago with pesticides. At that time, the federal government stepped in and changed the mandate on what they could and could not use on golf courses. But that was at the federal level, then the states adopted that, and that's why you no longer hear those. But that was a concern years ago. Mr. Chandler may know more what pesticides they used and maybe outlawed for like Roundup at one point, I don't know. But I do know those standards has changed. Now, what, on that same topic, that I would be more concerned about is the industrial sludge waste that farmers are dumping on their property right now, that we don't know what's in it, and the state don't know what's in it. So just be mindful of that stuff. I'm more mindful of things that we don't know than the things that we do know. But on the taxes, going back to phrasing over again, on the tax part, so we know that it costs $429,000 to educate a child in Madison County schools. If a home is valued at $500,000, then you're automatically going to at least pay for that one kid. Or currently in Madison County, we have less than 15% of the homes that actually pays for their kids to go to school. So as a guarantee, there's no way anybody can guarantee who's moving in and what volume of kids is going to move in with it. I don't know. I know several millionaires, but I don't know many millionaires with elementary styles. Cool kids unless they inherit it.
Okay, how big is the golf course?
It's an 18-hole golf course.
How many acres is it gonna take up?
Right now, we're showing plus or minus 248, and so I mentioned earlier that that's not set in stone, that number may move a little bit as we go through the process.
And how much water you guys are looking to use to, water that golf course, that 200 acres?
So I mentioned earlier that on average, it's 500,000 gallons per day, but that's utilized some of the reuse too that's in the irrigation ponds. And the irrigation ponds are designed to be located to catch some of the runoff that's generated, and also the rain that occurs over the course of the summer is going to go into those irrigation ponds as well.
All right, so, I don't know of any 200-acre property where we're using 4 times the amount of, concentrated pesticides to, put on ground, and that's gonna be used on a regular basis. Majority of the stuff we do here is basically, broadcasting of seeds, and we really don't water them. We depend on the rain to water them. With that amount of pesticides and the amount of water that are gonna be put on the property, that means there's just more water getting into our groundwater on a frequent basis. So if he's putting 500,000 gallons of water on the ground with chemicals on the ground, we're just leaching all that stuff back into our groundwater. So where no one is using 500,000 gallons per day individually on 200 acres in Madison County.
Oh, yeah, we got it every day. Unfortunately, because I'm fighting it at the Capitol to stop it, and that's what we call industrial waste.
So right now, I'm just speaking from what I've learned, of other golf courses that's available on the internet. But, is there gonna be any kind of environment impact, survey done, on the golf course, see how it impacts the animals, the bees, the fish, wildlife around the surrounding areas? Because I believe there's like, a bunch of, water areas that's around there, right?
And there's one creek on the upper part of the property.
On the base of the property, but there was some wetlands.
I need to move on to the next question, we're way past our 3 minutes,
All
we
right.
got more time.
Thank you.
Thank you, though, I appreciate the questions, they're great questions, yes, sir. I'm still moving towards the back, I ain't forgot about you back there, sir.
Hey, my name is Jason Moss. I'm new to the community, so.
Well,
excited
to
be here.
So are we.
We recently escaped Gwinnett County, and we saw what development is there over 30 years. I moved into Lawrenceville, and it's a completely different place than it was. We moved here so that we would be able to live out in the country and get to know really good folks. Golf is great. I usually do my golf, and there's a windmill at the very end of golf, so I don't think anybody here is upset about golfing. Couple questions. One, would this project, if everything is about golf, would this project stand without the homes? Because I think that's just a legit question. Because if we don't, as a community, get to use properties, we have to deal with the extra traffic, potential burden on the school system. We keep hearing about that the county needs more money. The county needs more revenue. That's the reason that the taxes are so high. I keep hearing, man, you can't wait till you get your tax bill. I got it. For real. I will pay extra to keep the traffic off these roads. That's where I land with it. If this goes in, how much will my property taxes go down? That's a tax question. I don't know where that lands, and again, would this project stand without the homes? Because I don't think it's the golf course that people are pushing back on. It's the additional burden on our community.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you. And I grew up in Gwinnett County, and I don't live in Gwinnett County any longer, but, right. So, we've got a 600-acre parcel here, and half of it we're devoting, now I'm not saying exact numbers, but half of it we're devoting to golf, and the other half we're devoting to residential. If we were to come in here, we could develop all residential on this community, and to the point of some people, we could go ahead and develop true farmland across the entire 600 acres. We just so chose to go with a golf course, and then the remaining property to be residential to complement the golf course. The golf course is designed to be standalone, but at the same time, we are creating home sites that are being put onto us by the fact that we've got members who are saying, hey, we want the ability to have housing right around the golf course and the amenities that we want to enjoy. And so that's really our driving factor, is the fact that we do have members that want some home sites. And the other thing is, we've got a 600 piece. I mean, it's not a perfect 240 acre piece that's just set up only for golf. So we need to utilize 600 acres that we have, and that we should have the right to be able to develop a community as part of the golf course.
So it wouldn't stand without the community.
I didn't say that.
I mean, is that a possibility?
The golf course is designed to stand alone, but at the same time, we've got a 600 acre parcel, and we need to utilize the 600 acres, and I don't think this is beyond the realm that we're asking for part of it to be residential community.
I may be speaking that term, but I think if those are 5 acre lots, you would have half the people in the track.
Right, I understand. I've never been to an easy zoning, so,
That
we
would
have
be
this
easier.
meeting, I guess, right, so, I
This is
understand.
much more civil than most.
I understand, I see where you're coming from.
What would my tax burden be as a consumer of the facilities in Madison County? If I can't use what's being added, how much will my taxes go down?
All right, so I'll try to help you with that. So, speaking with Mr. Baker today, there's no way I can tell you what your taxes are going down. What I can tell you is, we have the lowest mill rate we've had since 1971. If this board continues to pull money out of the same well of money without reaching out to a brand new pot, this well is only gonna get drier, and people's not gonna be able to afford it. This board has to have, in any form, not golf course, not these gentlemen, any form, we have to have another pool of money to pull from. If not, the burden falls on your rooftop, and your rooftop, and your rooftop. Because things go up. Alan Zinsky told me this morning, the gravel that we've been buying, that was $7 a ton, is now $21 a ton in the past 3 years. So where does that burden go? To your taxes. Would you rather me go directly to you? Would you like me to spread it out a little further? That's what this board has to think about. And I'm only stating that for the fact. Now, so as far as asking how much will it go down, I would just pray that it don't go up.
Right.
I would say if this project generates 500,000 or 1.5 million, that's that much more of an offset that this physically responsible Board of Commissioners gets to delay that increase coming. Not that you're gonna see a decrease because they're here, but you're gonna see a delayed increase of the inevitable. Because it's gonna not just take this to protect us for the next 3, 4, 5 years, but it's gonna take something else 5 years from now to keep that from going up. That's just mathematical facts. And unfortunately, I'd asked a gentleman just recently, it's a good friend of mine that just moved here from Gwinnett County, and he retired in Gwinnett County, and I said, sir, why did you come to Madison County? And he said, because I love it, it's beautiful here. And I said, why didn't you come here 20 years ago? And he said, well, I couldn't afford to. Well, no jobs, anybody pays nothing, I couldn't move out here. So that's the other thing that we face as Board of Commissioners. How do we maintain what we have today for the future without going backwards or creating a bigger hole than we're already in? To answer the gentleman's question a minute ago about why that he felt like his taxes needed to pay for their roads. Well, no, they're paying their own way for roads. Golf courses, I believe, Mr. Baker, is taxed at about $120,000 a hole.
It depends on what class course it is.
Okay, so that's money that didn't cost you anything. And if the homes sell above that 429 mark, well, that's a plus for the school system, not a minus. All of it's a plus for the public.
It's a private club, it's not a public club.
It doesn't matter. Their taxes don't get a discount because they're private. It still goes into Lamar Dalton's office that gets dispersed amongst the Board of Commissioners in the general fund. Even, no matter if it's private or not private, we're still collecting their retail revenue. Every time a member, I got to check on this, but every time somebody buys a membership, it may be taxed. Every time they go in and buy something out of your restaurant, a set of golf clubs in the clubhouse, we collect the tax dollars. So I'm not advocating for or against, I'm just strictly trying to state facts on math as to where we're heading under the government that we're in today.
And the impact that we have is 200 additional houses, 400 additional cars, and 200 to 400 additional kids going into the school, so then we would have to build another school, so.
Not necessarily. That's all worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, but it also could be a lot worse.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Next question, moving on back. Well, I'm going to come back to you now, because I'm going backwards. Come on forward. One more, young lady. I'm sorry, I'll catch you next, I promise.
I'm Michael Purdue. I live probably about 4 miles from this proposed development. I don't have a problem with the golf course. I love playing golf. But I think what you're asking is to rezone something so that you can build something that is for revenue, for club members. My guess is that the club has a board of directors. My guess is they're doing it not because they love golf, but because they love golf and they love dough, great meat. They like the money. So you combine two best things. I don't have a problem with anybody playing golf. I think it's great. Here are the questions I have. On your site plan, if I'm looking at it correctly, your entrance is coming off of Sanford Meads?
Sanford Road.
Sanford Road, okay? So over to the top left is a Colonial Pipeline, correct?
Right.
Okay, so does it run right through your retention ponds?
It's not Colonial Pipeline, but yes, sir, there is a pipeline.
Does it run through the retention?
No, sir, we can't put a retention pond on the
Okay,
pipeline.
how far away from the retention pond is that pipeline?
If you want to ask your questions, I'll
I got a
jump up there
couple
and try
more.
to put it in front of you.
My understanding is that an American Links style golf course, because there are fewer trees, you have more water flowing on the landscape because the trees don't suck up the water. The water flows. And because it's shaped like a bowl, that water is going to flow to the retention pond, correct? If it doesn't flow to the retention pond and it goes to the other border, which I think is a creek, and that creek goes downstream to another county, so county residents in Clark County are going to be affected by the lack of retention from the retention pond. That's one of my concerns. I also have a concern about the use of pesticides. I don't mind pesticides, but I have bees. You spray that funk that you're going to spray on that golf course to kill the bugs, my bees are dead. And I moved out here in this part of Georgia 30-something years ago because I like to do what I like to do on my land. I believe you ought to be able to do what you want to do on your land until it impacts me. Next thing, apartments. Apartments don't have to be rented. I can buy an apartment and lease it to somebody. Basically, your townhouses and your lock and go places, those are hotels. They're short stay hotels. I want to know if the Board of Commissioners is going to assess a hotel motel tax, because that's basically what you've got. It's a resort. That's all I got.
So as for the pipeline.
Thank you, sir.
As for the pipelines, we've got rules, regulations, and a process that we go through for approval. And there's no intention to put a detention pond on top of the pipeline. They would not allow that. And honestly, they govern these pipelines so strictly that if I were to go put a shovel in the ground, I'd probably have a helicopter fly over. I mean, they're on top of the pipelines. The American Link style golf course, the beauty of it is the fact that when you irrigate, and if you over irrigate American Link style, it is going to run off. And the positioning of our ponds are to catch that runoff so that we can reuse it. The intent and the reason American Links can take less irrigation is for that reason, that you're catching the runoff, so you're not just watering trees. So that's what I see as a benefit to the project as a whole and to the area. And then another comment that he had made, well, we could go and farm this property and utilize water and utilize pesticides and utilize fertilizers as is. We're in here to rezone it, downzone it from a more intense agricultural use to a Ag 2 use, which golf courses fall under. And on the residential component, I mean, I don't think you really had too many questions relative to that, but the reason we're here is to talk it through
Sure.
and make everybody aware of what our intentions are.
Thank you for your answers. All right, there's another one in the back. Yes, ma'am.
I can stand right here, and everybody who.
What's your name?
That's okay, though.
Sorry.
I promise you mine won't be the 3 minutes. I'm a resident of Pelican Springs Road.
Yes, ma'am.
And I've been a resident for about 30 years. And with this new development, I was just wondering if they're gonna run a water line down Pelican Springs Road, and just make it optional for people that wanna connect up to the water line. We all pretty much live on well water. My husband and I are getting older, and, you know, that used to be a problem with the well sometimes as far as priming. So I'm one that would be fine with the water line, but I would, you know, it can be optional, but just let it, you know, just be there for people that want to do it. That's all I have.
Ma'am, what was your name?
Joyce McKeever. So, yeah, that's it.
Thank you. I don't know that you'll be able to answer this question.
Yeah.
I mean, I could try. No, I mean, I could say that, you know, infrastructure improvements are infrastructure improvements to benefit the community as a whole. It's, water lines are an infrastructure improvement that's gonna assist the fire department as well, so, I understand. I like the fact that you said that make it an option, so I don't know exactly how that would be handled, and there's an approval process and a design and review process that we'd have to go through, and maybe somebody else in here from the water department can speak a little more on it.
Ma'am, I'm gonna show you something real quick.
Okay.
And I've gotta use the map to do so. So this is Highway 106, right in this area. The county has water at 106. It measures, I noticed nobody here was from the, IDBA board, the water department, it's the reason I'm doing it. I wouldn't normally. But anyway, so it's 0.9 miles from our water line, county-owned water line, your water line, to the entrance of, on Sanford Road. 0.9.
Right.
Once the development, and I'm not selling this, I'm trying to explain it, okay? I don't want nobody to think one way or the other. But once they run water lines through this development, and you're on Pelican Springs back here,
Right.
this is all on their cost. Now you have a water line potentially at the closest point to Pelican Springs if the county in the future decides to extend it, they would probably tap here versus here. So what I'm in theory saying is potentially we'll be 1.5 miles closer to Pelican Springs with water than we are today.
Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am, and thank you for the question.
I'm gonna keep praying.
Anybody else on the back row before I come back to the front? All right, young lady.
That's a perfect segue, because it's related to my question. My name is Amy Stowe. I'm an urban refugee survivor also, from DeKalb and Cobb County. I, like a lot of people, am not afraid of the golf course. But I glean 2 things from your presentation. One is that you do care about the community. You want to be a good neighbor. I hear you say that. But I also hear you say, when you talk about life within the road, exceeding standards, apex in luxury, the best of the best. But when you talk about life outside of the road, you talk about meeting minimum standards. So you're kind of tying off the question that Ms. Joyce had. If it would be a benefit to the community, why not assuage all of our fears by contributing to this infrastructure? Not the possibility, right? But it's standard in development that some areas require contribution to the development of the county or the municipality, whatever it may be. Why is that not a plan? Why is it not bringing that excellence and that highest of the high, like why all the septic things? Why not build the infrastructure to take potential burden off the county and to contribute as a good neighbor and to say, you really do care about benefiting our county. So instead of potentiality, why not a commitment to it?
First, I want to say that if our presentation came out the way that she explained, I truly apologize, and that was not the intent. by any means. There's a lot of infrastructure going into this development, and she mentioned putting in sewer. Well, I know enough of you are involved, a couple of you are involved in engineering and understand that you go in and put gravity sewer throughout a development, and then you put in a lift station, and a lot of times that requires even more density than what we're showing. And so what we're trying to do is show something, and when I say the word minimum standard, I'm talking about per the rules and regulation, the minimum size lot that we can do with a septic tank is 3/4 of an acre. That's not to mean that we can design this whole development to only be 3/4 of an acre. We've got a whole process that we have to go through, rules, and you've heard me say it several times, rules, regulations, permits, approvals. And part of that is to make certain we have the soils that will allow for as small as 3/4 of an acre, but it's likely that many of the other lots will be much larger in order to get the septic tanks on them. So we've looked at this development and we thought with the density that it would be, the optimum way to develop it would be with septic versus putting in sewer. And I don't know that putting in sewer and dedicating that to the county without having others really tie on to it pretty soon after our install and dedication would yield the kind of return that they need to keep up with a lift station and the sewer
Have you
infrastructure.
commissioned a study on that, or
Yes, ma'am, I've done a lot of septic tank deals, and I've done a lot of gravity sewer projects, both Cobb County, Douglas County, Fulton County. So I do know the cost, not only of the infrastructure to put in a lift station, but the upkeep and maintenance. Like, for instance, Gwinnett County won't even allow any more lift stations currently because they don't want the burden of the upkeep and maintenance of a lift station. So, we have done the research and we have the experience, and we also lean on our design consultants who have much more knowledge as it relates to sewer and infrastructure than I do. But the big thing that I want to address is what we're trying to sell is an incredible experience that we are planning to build, and we want it to be a complement to Madison County. And the only time I was talking about minimum or minimal standards was only related to design, or was only related to development and design criteria of the infrastructure and the site plan. So no other mention of that was intended towards anything outside of that. I don't know if I answered the question.
I think so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Kyle Cox, just to follow up on that question, maybe not to yourself, but maybe it's something between the county and the developer. To the previous couple points that were brought up, you mentioned about conditions of approval.
Yes, sir.
Are you gonna tie this development to conditions of approval that will help the county? Like I said, you need some extra funding or some infrastructure that's been brought up by the citizens, or, if it's not a sewer line or a water line or power or something that this, like say, the developer comes in, there's a bonus or something else for the community that can be added on or tied in from the condition of approval that a jurisdiction can write, so they can come to a negotiated approval when they build a development that will help the community. Can somebody think of conditions of approval that are being discussed, negotiated, or can be added, so we can add to the coffers in a uniform way, an agreed upon way that makes sense for this added development to our area?
That's a very valid question. I don't think, was that to Mr. Coutu, or?
I guess to both of you, if you did that, but you mentioned the conditions of approval. Let's keep it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, I didn't want to offend if you were trying to ask him that question. So, we're not to that point yet. We are still at the very beginning. We're not even into, just to be honest with everybody in the room, we are at a rezone phase. It come before P&Z for approval or denial, come before Board of Commissioners for approval or denial. If approved, then we go to a plan review stage, to where the Board of Commissioners can say, no, we want this, or no, we want that. That's not part of where we're at in the process, but it is possible. The Board of Commissioners can say, for instance, the water line is a mile away. Well, the water line today for a mile is about $1 million. We could say, if you want our water, you're gonna have to pay that $1 million, because we can't afford to run one for you. So it's possible. We just are not there yet. Now, the roads, again, they're already building those. All those water lines inside that's on them. Madison County Board of Commissioners in no way, shape, fashion, or form will have a dollar invested in this project, nor will any taxpayer. This is on them to build it. It's on us to make it all work. But there's a lot of factors, and I think we're gonna get there in just a minute, because I see a couple other people in the audience that's gonna tell us how they feel, pro or con. But I wanna start on this side of the room now with questions. I hope I was able to answer that question, sir. Down this side, anybody got any questions? I see a hand raised, I can't see because of the pedestal. Come on up, sir.
My name is Steve Quarles. I've been in the county since 1974. And, we already got one golf course that's an eyesore in Colbert. It was abandoned. Yeah, it's an eyesore. Don't nobody approve of it now. Don't nobody want it. What's gonna happen if this falls through? Are we gonna be in the same situation? My other question is, I think it should be gated at the road, Sanford Road, and not saying, well, we're gonna gate it, but we're gonna gate it at the Clubhouse Drive. Because that's still gonna give you traffic coming out into the road regardless. People are gonna go through there being nosy looking, see what's going on. And my last question is, you sell these houses that's deeded and titled to a member. If that member dies, or divorced, or whatever the case may be, and they decided to sell it to somebody just to take the loss to get back at their husband, how are you gonna stop that? That's all I got.
Again, I don't know that that's much yours, but.
Yeah, on the last one, there's a couple what ifs on that, and one thing I do want to clarify is that it's not just gonna be members, it will be, members have right of first refusal for a lot or a home, but it will be open on the community side. Relative to the golf course side, I think we've shown here that we've built a team and we have the investor pool put together to build a successful golf course, and I understand that there may be a failed golf course in the community, and that can happen with certain golf courses, but this one, we've put together the team. This isn't we're not speculating on putting a golf course here. We've got the team built, and we've been looking for the property to build the course, and we feel that we found the property that fits the needs and the topography and the lay of the land, and the fact that it's already been cleared by the previous owner and lends itself to American Link style golf course. All those things are there, the drainage, the location of our ponds to catch the runoff. It's set up for, and it's not just us saying it, I mean, we've had design professionals out here to review and study this property and say, this is a great site for what you're trying to achieve. So we have a lot of passion for it, and we have firm belief that this is gonna be an incredible opportunity for not only the members of the course, but it's gonna be something great for Madison County, because it's gonna be tax revenue. We're not gonna be a burden on the infrastructure. We're gonna be bringing in revenue to the county that support all the other things that the county has going. And then I think that may answer all his questions. Is there anything else on that?
No, the gate, does it go with the Clubhouse Drive, or are you gonna put it up at the top? Or
Yes, sir. Right now, the intentions are that we would have public roads on the single-family detached homes, so section B of the development, and public roads servicing that. Then to the clubhouse would be a private road. We have not decided if we're gonna put a gate on that or not. A lot of developments like this, there is not a gate. That's not to mean there's not a private drive, but there's just not a gate. So there hasn't been a decision made that we necessarily are gonna gate that.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for the question. Yes?
My name's Frank Strickland. I know I'm in the minority, but I totally support this project, simply due to the fact that I've been in this county since 1949. And I've heard a lot of people, they moved into it, they love our county. It's a great county. But I didn't have the benefit of building Gwinnett or one of the other counties and seeing my property values quadruple. Then come out here and buy twice the house in Madison County because it's rural. Our taxes aren't going through the cities. You take the average retired person, every time they get a tax increase, it makes them hard, but most of them get it. They don't have that little extra draw that they can have. I saw 25 years ago, commissioners turned down a cold storage plant in Hope. That would probably brought 50 to 75 jobs to this county. It's up at Bradlton now. They complained it was going to reduce the traffic. It did. Said you took the 4-lane road. They complained about the north. They got a railroad track right next to it. And I've heard all the same complaints about this facility. The school kids. How many school kids in the county now that live in a $500,000 house go to Madison County? Most of them are private schools. The biggest percentage of them. And I just wouldn't be afraid to bet 90% of these houses, if they've got kids, they're going to go to private school. The $500,000 is more than support a couple of kids like Full Sanford. I forget what the percentage, but it's about 70%, close to the property level. They need the support, the tax revenue. Like I say, I've been here all my life. I was born in 1949 in Madison County. Y'all talking about seeing the change? I've seen the change. And most of it is housetops. This is a great deal. It's not a subdivision like we know a subdivision is. It's a gated community, which is going to be an asset to the county. The tax revenue alone probably keep my taxes and yours balanced a year or so before we go up again. And they're going to go up. Inflation is going to drive everything up. But the way I look at it, on businesses or developments like this, which is basically a business, we need them in the county. We run off the cold storage facility. Nobody else is going to come out here and try to build because Madison County's unfriendly to business. You turn this down, don't think we're going to get subdivisions. And that's it. Housetop. And as far as people say, I'd rather see them on 5 acres. I'd rather see 100 houses on 75 acres than 100 houses on 500 acres. You're keeping the rural content at 75 acres. You're not with the 500 acres you have. And if this falls through, you're probably going to have 50 to 75 chicken houses on that farm. And as far as pesticides, I've got a couple of farmers that are hauling in sludge, waste, distributing it all away to the farm. That's probably got more in it than this golf course will put. And the whole thing.
No, sir. It's proven
Nobody
fact.
knows. Nobody knows.
It's proven fact, it's been researched.
Yes.
Yes. Whole deal has been greatly researched and.
I ain't talking about Hope Wood. I'm talking
Yeah.
about Hope Wood.
We don't need to have debate.
Oh, okay.
You're fine with making statements, but it's not a debate back and forth.
Right, that's right.
It's a known fact, we don't know what's in the sludge. The state ain't
So
valid.
Yeah, I'm not talking about that, I'm just saying.
No debate.
4 years. And I would love to see, and I love playing golf. And maybe I'll join something and get to come down there one day and play.
Thank you, sir, for your statement. Let me finish this side of the room, and we'll come back this side of the room. But thank you all for being very civil, thank you.
Fish be with us. Shouldn't fish be with us.
Thank you for the prayers.
Mr. Chairman, I am going, first I want to thank the commissioners. You got a job. We appreciate you, don't you? The whole county appreciates you. You're a good group. I want to thank the planning and zoning because they've gone through the same challenge that you're now facing. And I think that's very important too. And I'm kind of here representing, I'm kind of unique animal, speaking tonight. I'm from Sanford, I was born in Sanford. I was in Atlanta 10 years, and I'll tell you how long ago it was. My daughter looked at the road, and said, 49 years ago, we said, we're not living here. So we came home back to Madison County. It's a great county. And I do have a question. How did you find Sanford? It's kind of a jewel.
Absolutely.
Hidden in the corner of the county. And we want it that way. Okay, and I know you're gonna do that. I appreciate that. That's a nice job. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Compliment you. But I'm kind of here for my cousins who are all gone, except me and my sister. Yeah. Randy and Jerry Donna, and Phil Parker. All right, man, I'm gonna tell you that one, especially one. I'm gonna tell you that. I'll claim that one. But anyway, Jerry got a good point now. Above this, the honeycuts on 350 acres. So I can just see those houses flipped to the top. And the exit's gonna be Nowhere Road. And that whole area is right for development, going down Nowhere Road. So the real concern of Sanford is, we have a very pleasant, peaceful place, and we don't want to be impacted. That's what Jerry Wilbur said. If the honeycut place goes, there's more land exposed to the honeycut, the Jerry Wilbur who is to your place, in total. So my point, coming to the commissioners, is some form of buffer, where we get into the impact, that it can be light pollution, it can be site, just open area pollution. So I would encourage you to look at buffers to try to guard our area. Like Randy Jones across the road, and across the flood in front of your house.
Yes,
sir. So in that city. And the point of going down, the point of going down Heligan Springs is, it's not near the road that 106 is. So I would encourage you, actually, to get with Clark County and improve that road, and it'd probably be much better access than 106. You come on a beautiful road out of Clark County, and you don't have to come out 106 and wade your way back in. And my sister would be very happy about that. But she lives on Chandler Road, everybody will come back. So I'll advocate for her, but the biggest one is really impact on the area. And again, buffers, whatever that may be, is what I would encourage you to look at. Again, the thing about the honeycut place, it's a beautiful place. Now, there's a lot of adjoining property on that side. So if you put these houses on top of that place, you got 165 more houses. They got a feeling you'll be seeing pretty soon. So, that's kind of...
Just to help answer that question, the honeycut place is north of the street.
Yeah, it is,
we're
north of
looking
this
at.
place.
So currently, that property is zoned A2.
Okay.
Which is what you're actually asking to go to, adjacent to, A2. The lower portion, at the bottom of the screen for everybody here, that area is currently zoned R3, which is exactly what you're asking this to go to on the lower portion. So you're trying to mimic upper and lower of what's already existing. So if you go to A2 on the upper honeycut property, that would have to come back before the board of commissioners also. Because the minimum lot size on that would be 10 acres.
And I think that's going to be the challenge that we're going to face in the future. It's going to happen. You're going to have more come. And I think you're setting a precedent. Is what's most important here. What you do here is so important. It's not just for Madison County. This is the first big development north of Athens, going toward Franklin County, going toward Everett County, going toward Hart County. So you're really setting kind of a precedent for what you do. I commend you for it. We appreciate you. And thank you all too.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the great questions and comments. Anybody else on this side of the room, you have any questions? You see me looking at you back there.
No, I'll answer. I did thank y'all for the opportunity to have this open forum and establish more of a process where we could seek more information. So, been very informative tonight. So thank you for your presentation, and thank you all for the opportunity for us to hear all sides and make an educated decision.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
There's no other questions back on that side. I got a gentleman right here.
I hope it does. Tough act. This is gonna be a tough act to follow.
Yeah.
I'm Mike Foss. I live in the county.
And I guess I just have a couple of questions on the demand side of things. You know, why do you think this area needs or desires a golf course out here? You know, how many members do you, when you guys hit maturity or peak, how many members do you think you're gonna have on the range? And what do you think you're gonna draw, the interest from? Is it just gonna be right here, or are you gonna be pulled from Atlanta, or pulled from the whole state? Just kind of curious if you could talk about, the demand and what's gonna pull from the
Absolutely, good question.
Great question.
Right now, we've set it up as, the intent is to have less than 500 members. The draw is the property and the golf course on this particular property, and bringing in the people to experience the golf course and be members of the golf course. We've also have a lot of people that are from Athens and are tied into the University of Georgia, whether they graduated an alumni from the University of Georgia or just love the Bulldogs, and they're looking for something else to do on the weekends and come experience the game and then have their course close by. We're only 12 miles, 7 minutes, 7 miles, 12 minutes, I'm always mix it up. But very close to Athens. So there's amenities that can be shared not only in Madison County and the opportunities such as, I know you've got a brewery coming to Madison County, but also there's amenities that our members can enjoy in Athens as well. So the member level is not only local to Athens, local to Atlanta, local to the state of Georgia, but there's also national members that we're going to be drawing all the way from, say, Texas and areas like that. And so this golf course is designed to be a level of golf course that people are going to want to travel to experience. So the draw isn't just necessarily Madison County, but it's a very broad draw, and golf course enthusiasts coming to experience it.
Actually, can I ask just two, not follow-ups, but, can you guys give us, the next steps in the process of decision-making? And then, if everything gets approved, how long is it gonna take to build just at least the golf course, and when would you
Let me speak to that on the construction. So the timeline for a golf course is you've got to land in certain parts of the year, develop a golf course, and then you have a growing period. So it's about, it could be anywhere from 12 to 18 months with that growing period on the process. The construction of the amenities is going to be similar timeline. So say 12 to 24 months on the amenities. And then you've got permitting on the front end of that typically takes about 4 to 6 months to go through the permitting process. There's some things that could take longer, but that's not to say you can't necessarily break ground within a 6-month period after fully zoned and fully designed and fully permitted.
To answer the second part of that question, so December 18th, 19th, it'll come before the Planning and Zoning Commission. Therefore, they will either approve or deny. At that point, they'll make their recommendation to the Board of Commissioners on January 8th.
Yes, sir.
First time I've got that right. I keep saying January 4th, I don't know why. January 8th, it'll come before the Board of Commissioners. At that point, that night, the Board of Commissioners will make a decision to approve and or deny. And it's strictly the third wheel. It could be tabled at a later time. I don't think that probably is going to be an option at this point. We've had so much so much information tonight. And that's why we really held this, because we wanted more than just a 20-minute rezone presentation. We wanted to give everybody the same opportunities we did the group about a year and a half ago with the 16 chicken houses. We wanted it all out there. We wanted the good, the bad, the pros, the cons, to be able to help this Board of Commissioners make a good decision. With that being said, yes, ma'am?
I thought it over and I have 3 questions. First of all, how far off the property lines are you gonna be as far as building, not only houses, but the golf course? The second one is the community gonna be entirely fenced, borderline, or is it gonna be partially fenced? The third question is, has any traffic studies whatsoever been done? And if any changes have to be made to Sanford Road, who's gonna put that bill, because it is a county road?
Right. So to speak on the infrastructure of Sanford Road and Pelican Springs Road, we're anticipating a detailing on each of those, and that would be a cost that we would incur, relative to the road system, and it would be through a permitting process that we would submit to Madison County and have them approved. And then on the fencing, you know, we got a large piece of property here that, you know, right now our intentions aren't to fence the entire property line. There may be certain areas that we need to fence, and it may be deemed that over the course of a period of time that someone may decide they're gonna be running their four-wheeler or something, we've got certain areas to fence, but outside of that, I think that the intent is just to leave it open. But like I said, I don't wanna say for sure, because there could be certain instances that we deem it necessary, to fence. And then on the buffering, I mean, we have natural buffers on the golf course. There's a stream running along the edge of the golf course, which actually has a natural county buffer and a state buffer. So we have a 25-foot state buffer and then a 50-foot county buffer already implemented along the stream. And so does the property owner on the other side of the stream. They have, you have the same buffer, and you could not clear to there. And right now on our site plan, we're showing, I know that this is a 600-acre parcel, 588 to 590 acres. So it's tough to see, and everything looks smaller than it really is because of how large the parcel is. But we actually have some natural vegetation around the residential portion as well. It's not dimensioned off, but if you were to scale it, you know, you see a natural area that's anywhere from 25 to 50 feet, and we're gonna have rear building setbacks on each individual lot. That's part of the zoning, that's part of the R3 classification, and that will be part of our rules and regulations when we come in for the individual building permit for the individual lots. And those setbacks will be shown on the final plat as well.
So the minimum will be 50 feet based upon the county requirements, right?
I need to look at what the exact county requirements are on those setbacks, but I can tell you, if you're along the stream, we've got a 25-foot state and a 50-foot county along the stream, East Sandy Creek.
The other thing is streams do change positions. I've witnessed it the last 48 years, so.
Yes, ma'am.
How you gonna?
And so the state regulates the buffers, and the buffer is not actually off of the waterway, but it's off of the rest of the vegetation on the edge of the stream. And so if it were to meander more than it is now, that buffer would change. You're correct. Thank you.
Great question. Anyone else? Drago, we're getting there.
Okay, I'm Drago from Foundation. I just want to say one thing, both to the board and to developers. You know, the people of this county like their rural county. That's why we're here, that's why you picked it. You know, we have a comprehensive plan that kind of reflects that. But this is a good example of something going in somebody's backyard. And the way the world is today, nothing can come without going in somebody's backyard. But this meeting is a good example of the way these things should work. People should get together and talk about things. Then you should make concessions and promises. The board should consider everything. And this is one of the best examples I've seen of that happen in the county as of today. So it's not a bad project. I don't know whether I'm for or against it. We need projects, but it's good to see that all aspects of it will be considered in the future. So we all benefit from this, not just you, not just the board, but everybody in the county should benefit from developing the county. That's pretty much what I want to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You excited me when you asked for information. That's good.
All right, make it quick.
I'll come back to you as far as the fire department, and the reason I am is because this is the first time we've seen anything in what structures you want to build on this property. And so bear with me just a little bit. I had our commissioners talk about a ladder truck about 8 months ago. Now I know why y'all talk about it.
That's the first I've heard of it.
No.
Really?
No, there's no bearing on the conversation.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
No. That conversation and what we're here tonight to discuss are two completely different animals.
Okay, now I'm gonna give the rest of the commissioners some information. The last time we were, as a fire department, we were graded by ISO. The statement was made by that person that checked us off. He said, as long as you stay within two-story structures, you're good with what you have. When you go to a third structure, then your ISO rating is going to drop because you don't have equipment. And the piece of equipment that's going to be required for us with a three-story structure is going to be a ladder truck. Not a big snorkel, but a 75-foot stick to do what we have to maintain as a fire department. So I'm just passing that on tonight to let y'all know that's why that discussion has been out. And so I'm just passing that information on to you commissioners, and maybe it's possible to do an impact fee with you guys to help us with that situation if that becomes. I'm not saying that's what we need, but that needs to be explored, because we want to protect you guys and what you got. We want to protect that beautiful thing that you're going to build, but it's a lot bigger than anything in this county right now. So that's where we're at as fire protection. That's why I'm sort of having
Thank you. I do recall that when I said I forgot, I haven't heard about it. I do recall it, but that was 3 or 4 months before we ever heard from these guys.
It's just weird how it worked out.
It was mentioned from your fire department about getting one.
Yeah. And so now,
it was more based off of Ingalls at the time.
That's right. And everybody, a lot of people thought we were out of our heads, and now here we are, 3 months, 6 months later down the road going, we got a multiple three-story structures that's got to be protected, so it's something to think about.
Yeah. We gotta look at that countywide too, so keep that in mind. Countywide, that doesn't mean that there's gotta be a ladder truck in every station.
No, absolutely not. I think if we had the representation in fire protection, that decision could be made more. But again, this falls in these Sanford Volunteer Fire Department's protection areas within a 5-mile radius of fire department. So the ISO is looking at us, and they come grade us. That's it doesn't just affect these guys, but it takes a 5-mile radius of me. So we're talking multiple residents, not just.
Oh, I got your point. Well taken.
Well taken, but.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anybody else on this side of it? Yes, you're welcome to ask a question. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Good evening.
Yeah, you're a resident of Colbert. You're welcome to ask a question.
And I'm representing the resident.
Go ahead, Ms. Morrison.
I'm not elected. Okay, my question is, and I think you kind of, I don't think we got, answer on how many acres are those ponds?
How many acres are the ponds?
Yeah, is there acres or?
So the ponds aren't, right now they're conceptual because they're gonna be fully engineered and there's gonna be hydro studies involved, so I can't say the exact size of them. This is just a representation of the ponds. Also, what's gonna go into it is the irrigation usage. And so there's a lot that goes into the exact sizing, a lot of engineering and calculation. So this is just a graphic representation currently.
Okay, so that's my concern, because a lot of the questions were asked were, I was gonna ask them.
I understand.
You come before us.
Right.
And one thing was about I need to know how many acres is ponds are. Is that something that can be given to us before we?
So the ponds are gonna be sized appropriately to handle the necessary amount of water for irrigation. We can't tell you that exact number, that exact size currently, because it's all gonna be dependent on the final site plan, the configuration, the exact configuration, of course, how the water flows in. So I don't know. The best way to answer this is that it's part of the process when you go through design review and permitting. And so there's multiple things that go into it: detention capacity and irrigation needs. And so, I don't know, maybe you can tell me why you need to know the exact size of it, and I can maybe answer from there. That may be easier.
Well, citizens of this county are concerned about our water consumption.
I got you.
And you got a water that's being beautiful golf course.
Right.
To keep it green. And so, and that's another thing, and plus, like they said, pesticides, I know you said that, but that is one of the downfalls of the golf course, is pesticides. And, my concern is, you know, you got this beautiful golf course and you don't want any trees on it. But that's another thing that is, a part of the water, keeping the water going and keeping pesticides where they're down. So those are just things that will increase the concerns of the people here that's been saying. So, is that something that you might put on trees on the golf course? I know you don't want them, but.
Well, and we're not the ones that clear cut the trees off of a majority of the property, but the golf course is a style golf course where that's conducive to our needs. Like, it just worked out that someone had come through and clear cut it, and, you know, we're not planning to do a complete clear cut like they've already done. I mean, it's been done for us. So that was kind of the beauty of the property, and we are gonna be planting additional landscaping, which will include trees, yes ma'am.
Yeah, that's what I mean on the golf course.
There will be some trees bordering the entire golf course is gonna be bordered with trees, and then there will be some trees, like especially specimen trees that we can retain. Like Nick mentioned, that's the jewelry for the golf course, but the design of the golf course is to be a little bit more open.
Right.
And that's why we sought out this property. And then as for the pesticides, you know, we're gonna have rules and regulations that we have to uphold on the pesticides and the fertilizers. And please remember that this is zoned currently as Ag 1, and we could go in there and water crops all day long if we wanted to, and utilize a ton of water just as easily as watering a golf course. The ponds, we're using professionals that work in this industry to design the course to minimize the amount of water, because every drop we spread on the course is money out of our pockets, just like a farmer has corn or any other crop. You know, they want to minimize the amount of water necessary, but they also want to maximize the crop. The same thing here, we want nice lush green grass. But we will design the ponds to properly manage the amount of irrigation that we need. And there could be instances where we have to use a little more because of the drought or something, and that may be when we focus on only watering certain portions of the course, like the greens.
Right.
You know, there's concessions that have to be made for certain times of year in certain severe
Because
conditions.
the reason I'm also asking about the ponds and the retention and everything is because I know you said 500, but what I investigated that the whole takes 2.0 billion to get on some water per day. So that's why I want to know if your.
So we've looked at the internet as well, because
We're going past our time frame. I think we know where we're going, maybe I can catch up a little bit.
Okay.
Just one quick question, what is a membership cost? I'm just curious what somebody has to pay to use your golf course.
It's not open to the community, it's private.
we're still working through the membership costs.
Okay.
It's gonna be market rate for a similar golf course.
What's the idea of that, just in general?
You guys want to speak to that?
You know, I mean, memberships in private clubs like this vary. You know, in the Northeast there, it can be up to $1 million to join a club like this. In the Southeast, you know, you got places like Frederick and Ocean Forest that are $250,000. And you have clubs like Sage Valley, that's probably $150,000. And those clubs in Atlanta are $100,000 plus that are in that, in this caliber. So it's gonna be in the market, you know, within the market, rate, because I mean, we need, you know, members to join. And just because it's private, this does not mean that we won't have members that live in Madison County. You know, it's very likely that we will have several members that reside here. So, I don't want it to feel like a private meeting that nobody from Madison County is able to join. It's just a matter of economics.
Right, I was just curious.
Is there any more questions?
Well,
Now, y'all got it. All right.
I just have a quick question to get some clarification. I know we don't require a survey. Did you guys say you would have a survey available before the meeting on Tuesday?
Yes, ma'am, we conducted a survey prior to submitting our application, and we made that's an actual survey. Carter Engineering performed the survey on the entire 600 acres, and it's part of the application.
But but you will not have a different survey before our meeting.
No, it's the same survey. I think when I was talking about, the surveyor getting involved was when we really get down to the difference between A2 and R3 and having a division line in the acreage.
I guess that's where I'm getting at, because currently, as it's written, we would be voting on approving two different classifications on one parcel, which we can't do, correct? I mean, I can't have a parcel that is all A2 and also R3 at the same time.
You would have to have definitive boundaries. But it don't have
There
to
needs to be like a
be
legal description, correct, of two different parcels?
as a condition of, the Board of Commissioners can set that acreage.
Well, what, okay.
So in other words, if he says he needs 248 plus or minus 10%, Board of Commissioners could come in and say, no, it's 248, that's what your surveyor will draw, because that's what we're going to be on. For that portion, one way or the other. I mean, I get what you're saying, you're correct, it'd be better to have it, to at least know, but the Board of Commissioners can go above and beyond and make that part of that condition. Correct, gentlemen? Yes, sir.
It's my understanding, I guess, it's my understanding you guys haven't closed on the property yet. So, as the devil's advocate here, I would say that it would be inappropriate for us to expect that the developer at this stage of this project would present a plat for a piece of property that night, and potentially could be turned down either by the P&Z or approved by the P&Z, or come to the board and it either be turned down or approved by the board, regardless of what you guys would make that decision. And here again, I agree with Todd. When he says that there's going to be 249 acres in a golf course, that's what I would expect it to be. Not 10% over, not 10% less. When I'm told that it would be 164 lots for residential use, it's gonna be 164. It ain't gonna be 188, it's not gonna be 129, it's gonna be 164. And when I'm told that there's gonna be townhouses placed there, I want to know the number, I want to know the bedrooms, I want to know how many stories. When I'm told that cottages are gonna be placed on the land, before personally, I could endorse the project, I'd like to know how many cottages, are they gonna be set up like a duplex, quadruplex, how, what's your plan? And I don't believe it would be fair on our part at this stage to get that deep down in the nuts and bolts. But before they turn dirt and start pushing up trees, somebody's gonna put that down on paper, and it's gonna be recorded, and it's gonna be what happens, one way or the other. And then if they don't have the willingness to do that, then I would have to tell you guys, you may be in the wrong place.
I don't think that's, at this point, again, like Dennis said, he completely said it right, that's the next phase of the game.
And I just want to say that I understand what you're saying, and I hear you, and I understand.
Well, we want to be fair, we want to be fair.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Quickly.
Yeah, okay. You said the primary focus is the golf course, but is there a projection of when you would start building the house?
Good question.
So we would be going in for permitting on the golf course and possibly a first phase of the homes simultaneously. But our focus is, right now, our membership level is based on, hey, we want to play golf. We want to get the golf course open, so that needs to be our primary focus. But at the same time, we need to deliver some lots, and the intention is not to go grade every lot out there and plat every lot initially. We'll do it in phases.
So, is there so if the lots do not sell expand that, golf course to 36, or to what he said? You're telling us this, will it be that?
So if we have to expand the golf course to 36, we would come back before the board and discuss modifications and or changes and work through the process again.
Thank you, great question. Next.
You talked about your supporters, and you great guys that's on the board and all. Can you give us some names of who the people that are supporting on this?
No, that's getting way too personal into somebody's finances. No, sure. Good try though, but no. I can't see it. Okay, yes.
I'm Jason Smith. I just, from a business standpoint, are y'all gonna use, like, are y'all bringing in your own development, or y'all gonna use businesses in the county, or like your plumbers, your graders, your rock haulers, and all that? Where's that coming from?
That's a great question. You know, typically when I do construction and development, I bid out projects, and a lot of times it's the local contractors that are the most competitive because they have the least amount of travel, and they can work the most hours and not have to travel far and get back home. So I'm hoping that there'll be several local contractors that are willing to work on the project and are gonna get competitive rates and do a jam-up job. And I know that I've got other projects where people drive north of here to get to my project, so I anticipate that there's gonna be a lot of local contractors on the job. And I'm not up here guaranteeing any work or anything, but it's gonna be bid out.
I'm not for it or against it, I was just asking, is that something that the county can benefit from too?
Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Great question. Anybody else? All right.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
Why such small house lots? These people who are gonna buy this, they don't care how big their lot is, because they're not gonna maintain it. And to be in this kind of a rural setting, to put that price house on 3/4 of an acre, that's ridiculous.
What was your name, young lady, for the record? Miss Ann Stone. Yes.
Miss Stone,
That's too many houses for
We-
that much land.
we will not limit a buyer from buying multiple lots and combining them. And then there's gonna be several lots where we're not gonna get the perk rate that we'd like to get, and they're gonna be larger lots. So, this is a representation of the potential, and so I don't wanna come up here and sell you on something that's not a
Looking at this
potential.
little yellow diagram here, those look like cutter tiny lots.
I understand, they are, based off of the minimum size of 3/4 of an acre with municipal water and proper soils. And I think we mentioned a couple times up here that there's a fair likelihood that several of them are gonna either be combined or larger than what we're showing. But what I wanna do is bring a representation of, if we had the perfect soils, this is the lot layout that we can expect. So, I understand your concern, and like I said, I'd love to sell you 3 or 4 of them. You can divide them into one great estate lot.
Thank you for the great question. Yes, sir.
One last one, after the, if it gets approved and after it's built, are you gonna, will the membership and the homeowners association commit to using local providers for landscape maintenance and local providers for other things, that would benefit the county besides just the tax revenue from the property tax?
So, what I'd say is, we're gonna bid it out, and I foresee the local landscape maintenance crews being the ones to earn the business. I don't wanna pigeonhole the management company, because that's what they get paid to do, is go through the bid process, hire the contractors, make certain the contractors uphold the level of the contract and the maintenance that's needed for the community. So I don't wanna speak for them on exactly who it's gonna be, but it's a great opportunity, and I don't see why a local contractor could not earn that business. And like I said to the other gentleman, that you're local to the project, so you just cut down on a lot of your expense, just relative to travel.
Thank you. And the good part is we have two of the largest landscaping companies, in this area here in Madison County. So,
Right.
To be fair, I don't think you can bind anybody other than the contractual agreement, but we hope that's the whole goal in this. All right, anybody else that maybe I'm missing? I think there's a podium there. All right, with that being said, I want to ask a couple questions while I got everybody in the room. Are we clear on what our zone is? Because I've got a lot of phone calls and questions that says, what does A1 mean? What does R3 mean? Is anybody unclear what those zones are? What the difference between A2 zoning is and an A1 zone? Everybody's good. Everybody got it?
You can do the A1 and A, you said two?
A2.
Okay. I got the R, so what's the A?
Christopher?
A2 is intense agriculture, and in practice, A1, the true difference between A1 and A2 is commercial operations primarily focused around CAFOs or confined animal feeding operations. Your hog parlors, your chicken houses that we're more familiar with, or confined feeding animal operations such as feedlot for cattle. Things of that nature can only be done in we're in an A2, those confined feeding operations are allowed. That's the big difference. And then you break down, run through them. AR is ag residential, where you have some ag practices, but also a home that's not focused on the business of agriculture. Then you have R1, which is your first classification, I'm sorry for going fast, but it's your first classification of true residential without the use of agriculture or business. You have R2, which is denser residential housing that confines some of your buildings, some of your setbacks. R3 is your densest zoning for houses in the county that allow for multifamily dwellings, duplex or smaller lots, like a 3/4 acre lot, without agricultural practice.
Thank you, Chris.
Yes, sir.
All right, with that being said, does this board, after hearing 2 hours, if you have any brand new questions we need to ask before this goes directly to the P&Z on the 19th? Everybody good? All right. Well, this will conclude tonight's public hearing, special call meeting. I want to thank everybody in attendance tonight for your cooperation and your turnout. I hope that this has set an example to show the Board of Commissioners' willingness to work with the public and or with the developer. Thank you very much for all coming out. We don't see any. Merry Christmas.